Welcome to the Meat and Potatoes podcast. Today we are joined by Eric Ranks and Maurice Vera. Eric is the CEO of 22 Salute Spirits and Coffee, and Maurice is the COO. Welcome.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Appreciate you having us.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one because as we can see, and those listening, there's various products on the table in front of us, and we'll talk about all of those and what it took to actually get those in front of us. Let's start with kind of the founding story for you, Eric. Where did the idea come from?
Yeah, so, I've ran a veteran and first responder nonprofit since 2012. And where the idea came was every time the economy changes, so does donations to a nonprofit. And so I first just came up with the concept I need to create a social enterprise that can help fund the nonprofit. And I'm in several veteran mastermind groups where we get together weekly. And some of the vets, they're all entrepreneurs, and some of the vets were in the alcohol industry, some were in the coffee industry. And, eventually one of them was like, hey, have you thought about using alcohol to raise the funds that you keep talking about? And my initial reaction was no. Like, I have a mental health nonprofit. Why would I think about alcohol? And but then it put me in a very unique mindset because I really sat and pondered and thought, okay, how can this be used in a positive way? Because alcohol is not negative in itself. It's just how some people use it.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that there's a couple of things that we could do. And one of them would be put the story of, mental health and suicide on a retail shelf.
Yeah.
Traditionally, people don't want to talk about that subject. And so I thought, one, I can bring awareness to what's actually happening in our veteran and first responder communities that most people don't pay attention to. Two, we're the first spirits company to put the suicide crisis line on the back of our products. So there's help just easily readable. And third, it's, one of the biggest reasons for suicide is people feel isolated. Nobody's there to support them in their darkest hours. And we have a chance to get our message in front of somebody in their darkest hours.
Yeah.
And then call that crisis line. And so for me, I realized I could use this product in a different way than anyone else has ever used it. So if they're going to go out and try to buy alcohol anyways, I might as well make something that can maybe change the tide and say, like, hey, don't buy our bottle, don't buy someone else's, call that suicide crisis line and get some help.
Yeah.
And so that's what really stirred it. And so I called up Maurice and also another gentleman named Patrick Salazar, and he's out of Austin, and said, like, hey guys, any interest in getting in the alcohol industry? And both of them were like, yes. But they weren't coming from the working with veterans and first responders. They were coming from it with the three of us have worked for digital marketing agencies for a long time. And also, they had their own personal relationship with alcohol. And so they were both yes. But
Yeah.
Patrick actually did have some reservations because, he has a relative that's a vet that alcohol has not been a positive thing for it. But when he heard like what I thought through, he's like, yeah, we should do this.
Yeah. And then there's a lot of significance to numbers, right? In the name of the company and on the branding. Whoever wants to field that question, what are the significant numbers there?
Well, 22 is the number that's recognized by the Department of Justice.
Department of Defense.
Department of Defense, rather. And we know the number is higher. So 22 is the number of veterans that take their lives on a daily basis. That's outrageous, and it hits home, right? And we know the number is higher, and so the 22 is honoring those that have fallen and taken their lives, and so that's how it originated, right? Yeah. With us anyway, for 22 Salute.
Yeah, the average number of true numbers is between 40 to 60 suicides every day in the veteran community.
Correct.
And our first responders, it's a 10 times higher suicide rate than the traditional. But yes, and as you mentioned, and our packaging is unique as well. We chose 1 liter bottles. You know, we get some pushback in retailers, like, why don't you have a 750 milliliter? Because there's 22 1.5 ounce shots in a 1 liter bottle.
Oh.
Our vodka, most vodka is filtered 1 to 3 times. We filtered over 22 times to honor the lives we lose per day. Everything we've done is very purposeful to really bring tribute to this cause and how we can help reduce it.
Yeah, that's great. It's not just a dog and pony show and smoke and mirrors, and 22 times filtering it.
Yeah, it adds an extra 2 days of filtering, so it costs us money to do that.
Yeah,
But it's important.
but I assume for connoisseurs, it probably tastes better, would it be my guess also?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, everybody's gonna say that they have the best product out there. I mean, so, but you know, it truly is the smoothest vodka on the market, and we've won the highest awards you can win in the alcohol industry for it. And, you know, so it is. It's a great product, but for me, it's more about the cause and what is behind it.
Yeah. I like the line of thinking there, and the cause is great, but then eventually you've got to figure out how to make it and manufacture it. You know, everyone has kind of a picture of a moonshiner, whether it's like corn or potatoes or something, but if you're going to do it on scale, there's a little bit of science and R&D. So did any of you have an understanding of how to distill spirits at the beginning, or was it all big?
Not at all.
None of us. You know, so of course we seeked out a partner. You know, he's an equity partner. Seeked out a partner that that's their specialty. So it's actually kind of a unique story of how we ended up where we are. I guess if it's okay, I'd like to talk about like how we ended up, why we ended up with the distillery we did. But for that, I'll let Maurice talk about our first retail partnership, because that's what forced us to make pivots of how we were doing it.
Yeah.
Well, in terms of like identifying who we were going to go with for the distillery.
Well, talk about like, because we were originally going to go with a distiller in Texas, but we pivoted because of our retail partnership. So talk about like how that came about.
With the retail partnership. Yeah. So that was an interesting one where a gentleman that I met, I didn't really know the person at all, right? And we would talk about a variety of different things, never about what 22 Salute is or anything like that. But this gentleman was into the UFC, like I'm into the UFC, just as a fan. And I said, hey man, look, check this out. Check out who I ran into this weekend. And it was former UFC champions, right? Misha Tate and Randy Couture. And he asked, well, where were you? What were you doing? And I told him about 22 Salute, told him about the cause and our mission and what we're accomplishing, right? And then that's when he asked, do you know who I am? And I said, don't even know your name. Well, this person is a senior VP at a very large retailer, Kroger, and he supports the cause, and he backed us, right? In terms of like getting the product on the shelf and so forth. And that's how that relationship started with that retailer. And which is incredible, right? And we're giving back as well in a number of different ways to the Veterans Connection for suicide prevention and mental health awareness, and also to Primary Children's.
Yes, Smith has a really big primary children initiative.
And that's an initiative for us as well. So products sold, donations go out. So that's how it works with our relationship as well.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So why that's important is we originally were partnering with a veteran-owned distillery in Sinton, Texas, and we were going to start selling online. You know, we were just coming out of the pandemic. You know, consumers' minds were I can buy everything online now.
Yeah.
And so we weren't thinking of going retail until that relationship happened, and we had not actually bottled any product yet. So that was another very unique thing, is we got an agreement from Kroger before we'd even produced any product. And that doesn't happen in the retail industry. But this individual really believes in this cause and wants to make sure that we really get it out there. And so I reached out to our distillery that we were going to work with in Stinton and said, hey, we just got a retail partnership, and the margins that you have set up, we were talking before this podcast started of like, what are some of the struggles when you're starting a company? And I was like, these margins won't work for retail. And we went back and forth and back and forth, and he just kept going like, hey, I've heard this so many times that people come to me and say, we're going into retail. He's like, it just doesn't happen. He's like, I'm not willing to change anything. And so then we were stuck. We're like, we've got Kroger saying yes, and our distillery's margins aren't going to work for us. And out of a complete fluke, I literally Googled the top 100 veteran-owned distilleries. And myself, Maurice, his wife, my wife, we all just started calling down that list.
No kidding.
And his wife got a hold of one of them in Maryland, and he's like, yeah, I'd love to get on a call and have a conversation. So we all got on a call, and I had a good conversation with him, and he's like, for sure, like, let's make the numbers work. Whatever it's going to take, let's make the numbers work.
And an interesting thing, if I may, just really quickly, this distillery just won the 5th best distillery in the United States. So it was like stars lining up, right? So did we get lucky? Perhaps, but they're about it, and he's producing products that are winning awards for blind taste testing, and that's incredible. So take the Pepsi challenge and go up against your favorite vodka or bourbon and see how it fares. But we feel fortunate to be aligned that way.
Yeah. When we partnered with them, they were 7th best distillery. This year they won 5th best distillery, and out of, I think it was 2,900 distilleries across the U.S.
Yes.
Hyper competitive.
Yeah. Super competitive, veteran owned, Navy veteran owned. And it just aligned, and it's not only are they an actual like owner of a company, but I mean, we've become really close friends. Like, we're family, and I wish I would live closer to Maryland sometimes. It's not convenient just to hop on a plane and go to Maryland, but yes, they produce amazing products. We talked about our vodka. We have a fig vanilla bourbon that's literally the only fig vanilla bourbon made, period. No other competitors out there make one. We have a cold brew coffee vodka coming soon that mixes our award-winning coffee and our award-winning vodka.
Yeah.
It's been awesome.
Very cool. We'll get back into the spirits in a minute, but then that wasn't enough. You guys thought, well, let's do coffee as well, right?
Yeah, and at first I got pushback from Pam and Pat, like, why are we doing more than one thing? Which is, I mean, I admit, it's kind of a bold move to take on two of the most competitive industries there is. Coffee's the second highest traded commodity, second to oil.
Yep.
But I also knew that there's a lot, you're printing money if you can do it right.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make an impact. And so we started first with this red bag. And what's unique about that red bag, so that's with a Navy veteran in Texas, that he's smoking the coffee with a Texas mesquite wood Wyatt roast.
Okay.
Not done with any other coffee on your grocery store shelf. So super, super unique. It gives it I don't even know how to describe the flavor, but it's just a little smoky, but it also brings some other rich flavor.
Yeah.
And so we have a few different roasts in our red bags. And so that's why it's red and white. Is red, it's smoked; white, it's not smoked.
There you go.
And but the price point's a little higher because of the extra labor. And so we launched some of the other non-smoked ones to compete with the retail shelves. Coffee is super inexpensive at a grocery store. And so to compete with that, we launched some but all of our coffee is high altitude specialty coffee. And are you familiar with coffee profiling and kind of how the specialty coffee works?
Know a lot of people that are really particular. And
Exactly.
They are. So they have what's called cupping scores. And so they have professionals that literally cup the coffee, and they taste it, and from that profile they can tell the quality of the coffee, when it was roasted. They can tell how long it was roasted. They can tell what height the coffee was grown at. Like, there's a lot they can pull out of just.
what a job.
Yeah.
No kidding, right?
I couldn't do it because, I mean, a lot of them don't swallow it. They spit out because they literally sit all day long tasting coffees that way. But specialty coffee, so all of our coffees, regardless of which one, is specialty. Specialty coffees, they're traditionally they have a cupping score that starts at 80 and then goes up to 100. So your range starts at 0 and goes to 100. So all of our coffee averages between like 83 and 87. We do have some that are higher than that, that are in the 90, but we don't have any that are lower than 83. And all of our coffee's grown between 1,500 and 3,000 meters. So when the country's coffee grows, they don't go by feet, they go by meters.
Oh, yeah.
So we're very particular. And then we have some organic roasts. But the other reason why specialty coffee is really important, and if you're getting something that cups really well like that, is coffee is one of the highest contaminants of mold. So people don't realize when they're drinking coffee every day that 90% of the coffees on the market are contaminated with mold that they're drinking. If it's a high cupping score, and it's a specialty coffee, high altitude specialty coffee, you're very unlikely to have mold in your coffee. So that's part of the reason why we're so particular of which beans we put out, because mold's a myotoxin, and we don't need people to be drinking that every single day. And so a lot of people don't realize when they just go pull a coffee off the grocery store, oh, that one's $10, let's go grab that. Well, you might be drinking mold.
Yeah.
And so it's very unlikely that there's mold in the coffee that we're purchasing based on the quality that we go after.
Yeah. So you guys just didn't want to get in on the bottom shelf Folgers category.
Definitely not.
Yeah. From what I'm hearing, there's 2 learning curves, the spirits and now coffee. As you're building out the team and dividing duties, it seemed like each day was kind of new with the challenges and responsibility. How did you guys divide those up? Who tackles what? How's it working?
Boy, that's a when any startup that I've ever been involved with, everybody does everything. So the main thing is to get some kind of structure in place, which Eric was able to do with regular cadence for weekly meetings, action items that we have to go and action against, right? And just be thoughtful in our strategy for go-to-market as well. Luckily, all the knowledge that we've gained and all the tech companies we've worked at and things we've done in the past, we're applying those learnings to 22 Salute and how to be thoughtful and just go to market in a very in a way that's going to set us up for success, right? And believe me, behind closed doors, there's been a lot of very you could call it heated talks, because we want to get it right. We want to get it right. And there's opinions, because we're all high performers in roles
We're all type A personalities.
So we want to make sure that we're aligned. And to your point, like, who does what? Who's tackling all the boring paperwork for distribution or the import, that we have to do, and then also business dev and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Why are we launching in New Mexico versus Arizona, for example? And so we have to put our heads together and really think about what's going to set us up for success. Is this going to work? Are we going to win at the end of the day? And then there's marketing. How are we going to take that on and so forth? And luckily, I'll tell you right now, I've watched Eric and I've watched Patrick launch some of the largest brands in the world, large logos, CPG in the CPG industry, and get them performant campaigns that are helping these large businesses grow. So that's what excites me, because they know how to do it.
Yeah.
You know, I know how to do it, but they know how to do it in a level that's like they're the top 1%.
Yeah.
Because I've witnessed them do this before this ever even started. So that part is fun.
Yeah.
That part is solving that is fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is nice when you have people on your team that know how to sell and distribute and get it in front of eyeballs. There's probably an element of free marketing too with people that love the spirits and or the coffee, right? Because you've got people that are like, they won't drink anything else other than their brand or something
Sure.
like that. And then they're usually pretty verbose in telling other people what to drink, how to drink it. How have you guys, like, they're not influencers, they're just like good customers, whatever you guys categorize them, but it's got to be nice to have a little army of like really passionate folks.
We do. We do market by market. So we started in Nevada, in Las Vegas, which traditionally as a CPG brand, everybody recommends you start in your home state and build that out first before you go somewhere else. But when we're launching an alcohol brand, Utah was not what I was in top of my mind of. Let's start in Utah and
Right.
work our way out.
Yeah. Yeah. Even though there have been some here locally, right?
I mean, you've got a company that's done phenomenal. High West sold for, over 120 some odd $1 million.
Yeah.
They did really well. And we'll be another one of those success stories. I don't know what we'll sell at, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really interesting because we are not targeting the veteran community with our products. We're trying to help them, but and educate the regular public. But I would say the veteran community is our biggest advocates out there pushing our brand. Like, it's unbelievable of the amount of support and that we get from that whole community. Even though they know that, like, I've made it clear, like, hey, like, I'm not trying to push like, we're trying to help.
Yeah.
I don't need alcohol to be the next problem, but it's because it's helping their community that they want to. So, we have some influencers outside of that community that help us, but I have to give 100% props to the veteran community and how much effort and exposure and connections and stuff that they've just been providing. It's been unbelievable.
Yeah. If you guys don't know these off the top of your head, no worries. But of all the products that you've developed and sold, which ones are the most popular?
I think it's actually an easy answer. So preference, because I think it may change. Preference that the bourbon we only did as a limited release last Christmas. We only made 150 bottles, and now it's in full production. So now it's going to start hitting retail. So that one, we can't really categorize it. The vodka, for sure, we sell the heck out of the vodka, which is crazy. We started with it because not only do we take on the most saturated products on the market, but vodka is the most competitive of the alcohol markets. But we're doing really well with it. It's our most in demand. Coffee is starting to grow. So we didn't focus on coffee for the first while, other than we had it on our website. If you wanted to go, you could purchase it. And then any time we went and did events, we would sell coffee, and we'd always sell out every event we went to. We'd sell out all the coffee we brought. But we weren't really focused on it because we were trying to put all our money into keeping product moving off Kroger's shelves.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in other retailers as well, but Kroger's nationwide footprint, I mean, we could do really well just using Kroger and nobody else. So we've really focused on that relationship. This year we
love Kroger. We love Kroger. We love them.
This year we've started launching our coffee into C-stores, and also we just had a huge order from a company called Midstate Distributing, which most people don't know Midstate, but Midstate is who, in Utah, the brand that that falls under Midstate is Cal Ranches.
Oh yeah.
So people don't know who Midstate is, but that's kind of like a parent company of all these other farm type
Love it.
communities.
Those are the
So
best stores.
we just shipped a bunch of coffee there. So coffee like we've had this discussion many times, like this may be our hidden Trojan horse that we don't realize how big coffee could become. But
Absolutely.
up to this point, the vodka for sure.
Yeah. Have you guys had any, dogs that won't hunt, as they say, like, this is going to be great, this is going to work, we'll put time, effort, and money to it. Oh, didn't work. Or have you guys shot the gamut so far?
I think so far we've done pretty well.
Yeah.
Well, things that don't work are, for example, a learning that we had was understanding the whole distribution business model.
Yeah.
Because great, we have product and great, a retailer wants to have us, but guess what? You need a distributor. And if you don't have a distributor, too bad.
Yeah.
So there are states that are requesting the products that we can't get on the shelves, even though the retailers like put it on the shelf, because a distributor won't take on the product.
Yeah, if you're talking about those type of challenges versus products,
That's
like
why
we don't really have any duds in product wise, but our biggest struggle, and anyone listening to this, if you have connections with distributors, feel free to reach out to us.
No kidding.
But that's really our biggest struggle is the United States has a 3-tier alcohol system. So whoever makes the product can't sell it to a retailer or a consumer. It has to be sold to a distributor. A distributor can't sell it to a consumer. They have to sell it to a retailer. And so after Prohibition, they built this 3-tier system to protect the public. What it did, though, is it put any small brand at a massive disadvantage. So our vodka, I said, is our biggest seller. Well, our first distributor we tried to go with in Nevada, they have Tito's. And so immediately, nope, we're not interested, because they don't want to pull money out of that Tito's pocket, because they're selling enough of those big brands, or somebody will have Crown Royal or somebody, all these big brands out there, and so they won't bring you on. No, like I don't want to upset that other brand.
Yeah.
And so we literally have retailers like, we'll use Kroger because we mentioned them a lot of times. In Colorado, they have King Supers. King Supers has emailed multiple distributors saying, please bring them on. We want them on our shelves. And we just haven't gotten the traction there yet. And we have other states like that. California, there's like 6 or 7 retailers between northern and southern. So that's our biggest struggle, is winning the distributor game.
Yep.
The retailer game's easy. They want to be behind the brand and the cause. But yeah, it's the distributor game that's tough.
Yeah, I can imagine. My daughter was drinking like a fancy kind of new age soda pop the other day. And she's like, oh, I don't like it, and was going to throw it away. And I was like, you have no idea the blood, sweat, and tears that took for that damn thing to end up in our fridge.
Yeah.
And you're either going to drink it or I am.
Yeah, no.
Because it's like you start here, oh, it's in a can, and then it's like there's a lot of stuff that goes on, which you guys obviously know a lot about.
We've had to learn.
Yeah. Yeah, the old 3-tier, little bureaucracy, it sounds like.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's time for it to change. I mean, it's been a long time. And there's only, unfortunately, a handful of distributors. Like, there's not like you can walk into a state and there's 10 different distributors. There's just a couple. And
It's a bit of a controlling monopoly, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've done hundreds of these, and I always like when I can't figure out when like the funding injection happens, if it's bootstrapped or if you guys have equity partners, if you're currently fundraising. So if you want to talk a little bit about that.
We would love to. So part of the heated discussions that he mentioned, money is always one that becomes heated when it's the 3 of us. We've self-funded it basically up to this point. And then we did take on, we did bring on another officer in our company who injected some cash in our company, which helped. But we are now in that fundraising space right now, which is how we got involved with Ray.
Yeah.
And if people aren't familiar with Connect Capital, It's a great organization. That's how we got connected on this podcast. But yeah, we're fundraising. We did launch a crowdfunding campaign. We set the minimum at 40K. We're at 50K right now. It's been going a little over almost 2 weeks now. So we just started it. But ideally, I would love like a private equity partner. So someone who wants to come in, we'll give them equity, who wants to come in and actually be a partner and help us grow. We had a conversation with Park City Angels, and the guy there is going to connect us with some of the people that were early investors in High West, and those are probably potential people who could, maybe be an actual equity partner, not just like an angel and a VC that just wants to get in and get quick money out of it. Somebody who actually invested in helping us grow it.
Yeah. Well, you're going from challenge to challenge, but sounds like you've got a lot of really good momentum, and I just love how you guys have connected the dots, right? And, caution be damned, you're going into 2 markets that people are very opinionated about, and have been around for a very, very long time. And I've really enjoyed the story, really much so.
Yeah. If you one thing, if you have a second, I'd love to share that's unique. I really like telling this, which none of us saw this coming. But we do the best way to get someone to convert their product is they have to taste it. So we do, in states that allow us to do demos of our products, which Nevada is one of them. One thing that really is touching about our brand is, and we didn't foresee it. Like Maurice and I were in some Smith stores in Nevada, and demos were going on. And we've seen this so many times, people just walk in the door, they'll see what we're doing, and you'll start seeing them tearing up. And they come up and they'll give you a hug and they'll say thank you. And then they'll share a really heartfelt story of how mental health or suicides touched them or their families. Right. And it kind of gets me emotional, sorry. It's something else when people don't walk in to buy a loaf of bread or something and expect to have a whole emotional change.
Right.
And to know that we're probably the only brand on that shelf that is ever going to do, and that they appreciate what's being done, and they'll buy our products even if they don't use them themselves. They'll tell us, hey, I don't drink, or this or that, but I'm going to buy it because I'm going to support your brand.
Yeah.
And I'll give it to somebody who does. Yeah. And for me, that's big, that I didn't foresee the emotion that people would have around our brand. And it's really touching.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. If you can convince somebody to buy something that they don't need or consume, and have them give it as a present or some other gift, you're doing something right. Yeah. That's why we started out with the story of the number of 22, and because really well thought out, and well done, you two.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Appreciate you guys taking the time, and congrats on everything. This will be a fun one to watch.
Yeah, for sure. If you guys want to check us out, where we're at, you can find us at 22salute.com.
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
You bet. Thank you guys. Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Garrett.